So it was originally a 1990 Golf GTI big bumper, which is like the facelift version, and the customer asked us to make it four-wheel drive, and if I remember right, he just said four-wheel drive and powerful enough that it scares the crap out of me. We found a Mk4 VR6 4Motion Golf, which was just a bare shell really. It had been stripped, but the engine, gearbox and all the running gear was still there. So it was perfect. So obviously from the outside it still wants to look like a Mk2 Golf, but it's got the 4Motion rear axle under there that all fits in, you know, as if it was a factory car and if it was built like that originally. The diff is what Volkswagen call the Haldex system. So it's basically the diff is driven by a miniature clutch inside the diff, so you can turn it on and off as you please. The ECU that's running the engine now talks to a mini ECU that's talking to the diff. So any signals that the ECU sees, like throttle input and boost input, gets transmitted to the diff, and you have a little app in your phone which you can basically map the diff to work however you want it. From 0 to 20% throttle, the rear diff isn't doing anything. And then from there onwards, it slowly increases the amount of drive it puts to the rear up to probably 70% throttle, I think it is. And then you're in full four-wheel drive mode. It feels like a race car. It handles like a race car. It's got gas gold coilovers front and adjustable rears, fully adjustable shocks. You can definitely feel the stiffness in the suspension. The power, I mean the whole car is probably, it's intimidating. There's that much power under your foot on the throttle. The noise and the torque, I'm just tickling the throttle at this stage and the car just wants to go. The fuel tank in the back, obviously specific for giving the horsepower that we wanted. So race fuel cell and tank, and huge fuel pumps in the tank. There's 3 in there altogether, one supplying the 2 main ones. Obviously we put a full roll cage in it because again, it's built as a fast road car, but it's essentially a race car or a road legal race car, and with the sort of power that we was putting through it, obviously a full roll cage was a sensible thing to do, and it helps just stiffen the shell and tie everything together and make them handle well. Obviously we put a nice pair of Recaro recliner seats in there, customer's choice really. He's used them in other cars and really impressed with them, and they are really, really nice, really comfy. And some huge seatbelt harnesses just to keep you in, attached to the cage so you're not going anywhere. And then also the gear lever, it looks quite odd and strange. It's a really, really smart piece of engineering from a company in Czech Republic. So it's a normal H pattern gearbox where you would go across and forward and then back and through your gears that way. This actually takes that mechanism, that pattern, and turns it into a full sequential shift. So that's third gear. And then also it did have a sunroof originally, but because they're heavy and they leak, we chopped it out and put a full carbon skin roof on top. All you're really doing is cutting out a thin skin on the top. You're not touching any of the frame and any of the structure of the car, and then you just bond it down to the structure, to the frame. Save a lot of weight, looks cool, and yeah, why not? A bit of carbon fibre, everyone loves it. So front brakes again, whilst we're at the front, nice big discs, big calipers, just stuck with the original VR6 stuff. It is a 2.8 24 valve VR6, which is basically the crossover engine between the earlier one and the R32 that everyone knows. This has had extensive work to the whole engine. It's had pistons, it's had conrods, the head has had a lot of work to make it flow better. We've got 2mm I think oversized valves if I remember right. Obviously lots of nice billet bits, huge fuel rail to get lots of fuel up there, huge injectors obviously to get lots of fuel in, massive Garrett turbo which that will quite happily do 750 horsepower, which was what the engine was built for. Huge air filter and intake, all custom built. The wastegate on the turbo is an external one. Rather than piping it into the exhaust downpipe, we've actually just made it a screamer pipe. It goes straight out onto the floor underneath, and it'll definitely shoot flames out of there when the turbo's on full chat. You don't want to be underneath that when it goes.